Welcome to the Poetry Out Loud New York State Final Competition. My name is Asari Beal. I'm the Executive Director of Teachers and Writers Collaborative, and I'm honored to be your MC for this event. Poetry Out Loud is a national program offered by the National Endowment for the Arts and the Poetry Foundation. It encourages high school students to learn about great poetry through memorization, performance, and competition. Since the program began in 2005, Poetry Out Loud has reached over 4 million students, 17,000 schools, and 68,000 teachers across the country. In New York State, Poetry Out Loud is coordinated by Teachers and Writers Collaborative in partnership with the New York State Council on the Arts. Teachers and Writers is one of the first Writers in the Schools programs in the country, offering innovative creative writing programs since 1967. Our programs build community, amplify youth voices, and increase access to the arts. If you like what you see here and want to support our programs, including Poetry Out Loud, please consider making a donation at twc.org. Before we move on, I'd like to introduce Christine Leahy, Arts Program Director with the New York State Council on the Arts. The Council is dedicated to preserving and expanding the rich and diverse cultural resources that are and will become the heritage of New York citizens. Christine?
Greetings, everyone. I'm Christine Leahy. I'm the Director of the Arts Education and Literature Programs at the New York State Council on the Arts, which is a state arts agency. I want to extend a hearty congratulations to everyone participating today. You're here because you have taken the time to learn the language of poetry, and so you understand that the arts are more important now than ever. Participating in the arts, escaping through the arts, creating through the arts, connecting through the arts, and of course funding the arts. That's what we're all about. So keep up the great work, keep reading, keep writing. Know that you have many, many, many cheerleaders along the way, and the best of luck in your poetry journey.
Thank you, Christine. And now I'd like to introduce Justine Hacka from the Poetry Foundation to say a few words.
Hello, New York. My name is Justine Hacka, and I'm so happy to be attending your state contest from my home in Chicago. On behalf of the Poetry Foundation and the National Endowment for the Arts, I would like to thank the New York State Council on the Arts and Teachers and Writers Collaborative and your partners for your continued success in bringing Poetry Out Loud to New York. We salute the teachers who have motivated their students to discover poetry, and most of all, I want to congratulate all the students who have made it here today. Thank you again to all who make this program possible, and to today's competitors, best of luck to you in your hour upon the stage.
Thank you, Justine. As you will see, the students performing represent schools and hometowns from across the Empire State. Each student will present poems in 3 rounds of performances. These performances have been scored by judges on the basis of physical presence, voice and articulation, dramatic appropriateness, evidence of understanding, overall performance, and accuracy. At the end of the 3rd round, I'll announce the 2 students with the highest scores. The winner of this state final will receive cash prizes for themselves and for their school libraries, and they will go on to represent New York State at the National Poetry Out Loud Championship. Now, I'd like to introduce you to the talented students and open up the first round of performances. Lance Anthony is a freshman at White Plains High School and has a variety of interests such as serving as class co-president, football, and theater.
Time does not bring relief. You all have lied. By Edna St. Vincent Millay. Time does not bring relief. You all have lied. Who told me time would ease me of my pain? I miss him in the weeping of the rain. I want him the shrieking of the tide. The old snows melt from every mountainside, and last year's leaves are smoke in every lane. But last year's bitter loving must remain. Heaped on my heart, and my old thoughts abide. There are 100 places where I fear to go. So with this memory they brim. And entering with relief some quiet place where never fell his foot or shone his face. I say, there is no memory of him here. And so stand stricken, so remembering him.
Sakura Barthelemy is very passionate about racial justice. She's Japanese and Haitian born in America. This piece inspires her to take an active stance against racism and discrimination, to be defiant and never let anyone diminish her value.
I Too by Langston Hughes. I too sing America. I am the darker brother. They send me to eat in the kitchen when company comes, but I laugh and eat well and grow strong. Tomorrow I'll be at the table when company comes. Nobody'll dare say to me, eat in the kitchen then. Besides, they'll see how beautiful I am and be ashamed. I too am America.
Brenna Camacho is a senior at Wellington C. Mepham High School. She holds this poem very close to her heart and hopes to do it justice.
The Kiss by Robert Graves. Are you shaken? Are you stirred by a whisper of love, spellbound to a word? Does time cease to move till her calm gray eye expands to a sky, and the clouds of her hair like storms go by? Then the lips that you've kissed turn to frost and fire, and a white steaming mist obscures desire. So back to their birth fade water, air, earth, and the first power moves over void and dearth. Is that love? No, but death. A passion, a shout, the deep in breath, the breath roaring out. And once that is flown, you must lie alone, without hope, without life, poor flesh, sad bone.
Jasmine Chen is a junior at Syosset High School. She hopes to major in anthropology, a passion she discovered through her AP Art History class. After school, she competes on the school speech and debate team, where her favorite events involve, of course, recitation and poetry.
As Kingfishers Catch Fire by Gerard Manley Hopkins. As kingfishers catch fire, dragonflies draw flame, as tumbled over rim in roundy wells, stones ring, like each taut string tells Each hung bell's bow swung finds tongue to fling out broad its name. Each mortal thing does one thing and the same. Deals out that being indoors, each one dwells. Selves, goes itself, myself, it speaks and spells, crying what I do is me. For that I came. I say more. The just man justices, keeps grace. That keeps all his goings graces. Acts in God's eye what in God's eye he is. Christ. For Christ plays in 10,000 places, lovely in limbs and lovely in eyes not his. To the Father, through the features of men's faces.
Sophia Courts likes to spend her free time making music in the studio, playing guitar, and catching up on her television shows. She likes to draw and dance as well. Sophia also does track and is involved in her school's musicals.
Two Guitars by Victor Hernandez Cruz. Two guitars were left in a room all alone. They sat on different corners of the parlor. In this solitude, they started talking to each other. My strings are tight and full of tears. The man who plays me has no heart. I have seen it leave out of his mouth. I have seen it melt out of his eyes. It dives into the pores of the earth. When they squeeze me tight, I bring down the angels who live off the chorus. The trio singing loosen organs with melodious screwdrivers. Sentiment comes off the hinges because a song is a mountain put into words, and landscape is the feeling that enters something so big in the harmony we are always in danger of blowing up with passion. The other guitar in 1944 New York, when the trio Los Panchos started with Mexican and Puerto Rican birds. I am the one that one of them held tight, like a woman. Their throats gardenia gardens, an airport for dreams. I've been in theaters and cabarets. I played in an apartment on 102nd Street. After a baptism pregnant with women, the men flirted and were offered chicken soup. Echoes came out of hallways as if from caves. Someone is opening the door now. The two guitars hushed, and there was a resonance in the air, like what is left by the last chord of a bolero.
Alexander Fung is from Syracuse and is currently a junior at Manlius Pebble Hill High School. He participates in the school's varsity soccer and tennis teams.
The Universe as Primal Scream by Tracy K. Smith. 5 p.m. on the nose. They open their mouths and it rolls out. High, shrill, and metallic. First the boy, then his sister. Occasionally they both let loose at once, and I think of putting on my shoes to go up and see whether it is merely an experiment their parents have been conducting upon the good crystal, which must shortly lie shattered to dust on the floor. Maybe the mother is still proud of the 4 pink lungs she nursed to such might. Perhaps if they hit the magic decibel, the whole building will lift off and will ride to glory, like Elijah. If this is it, if this is what their cries are cocked toward, let the sky pass from blue to red, to molten gold, to black. Let the heaven we inherit approach. Whether it is our dead and Old Testament robes or a door opening onto the roiling infinity of space, whether it will bend down to greet us like a father or swallow us like a furnace, I'm ready to meet what refuses to let us keep anything for long. What teases us with blessings bends us with grief. Wizard, thief. The great wind rushing to knock our mirrors to the floor, to sweep our short lives clean. How mean our racket seems beside it. My stereo on shuffle. The neighbor chopping onions through a wall. All of it just a hiccup against what may never come for us. And the kids upstairs still at it, screaming like the dawn of man, as if something they have no name for has begun to insist upon being born.
Madison Grady is a junior at Jericho High School, and this is her 3rd year competing in Poetry Out Loud. Madison selected poems this year that reflect her Hispanic heritage and passion for science.
The Spirit is Too Blunt an Instrument by Anne Stevenson. The spirit is too blunt an instrument to have made this baby. Nothing so unskillful as human passions could have managed the intricate, exacting particulars. The tiny blind bones with their manipulating tendons, the knee and the knuckle bones, the resilient fine meshings of ganglia and vertebrae, the chain of the difficult spine. Observe the distinct eyelashes and sharp crescent fingernails, the shell-like complexity of the ear with its firm involutions concentric in miniature to minute ossicles. Imagine the infinitesimal capillaries, the flawless connections of the lungs, the invisible neural filaments through which the completed body already answers to the brain. Then name any passion or sentiment possessed of the simplest accuracy. No desire or affection could have done with practice what habit has done perfectly, indifferently, through the body's ignorant precision. It is left to the vagaries of the mind to invent love and despair and anxiety and their pain.
Leah Laurita is a senior at Herrick's High School. A native New Yorker, Leah has grown up in her mother's childhood home. She values community and service, dedicating time to bettering her home by volunteering on political campaigns and founding her high school's Black Student Union.
A Poison Tree by William Blake. I was angry with my friend. I told my wrath. My wrath did end. I was angry with my foe. I told it not. My wrath did grow. And I watered it in fears, night and morning with my tears, and I sunned it with smiles and soft, deceitful wiles. And it grew, both day and night, till it bore an apple bright, and my foe beheld it shine, and he knew that it was mine, and into my garden stole, when the night had veiled the pole. In the morning, glad I see my foe outstretched beneath the tree.
Julianne Joseph likes to binge-watch Netflix series. She likes to sing, but she doesn't like white chocolate.
How Dark the Beginning by Maggie Smith. All we ever talk of is light. Let there be light. There was light then. Good light. But what I consider dawn is darker than all that. So many hours between the day receding and what we recognize as morning. The sun cresting like a wave that won't break over us. As if light were protective. As if no hearts were flayed. No bodies broken on a day like today. In any film, the sunrise tells us everything will be all right. Danger wouldn't dare show up now, dragging its shadow across the screen. We talk so much of light. Please, let me speak on behalf of the good dark. Let us talk more of how dark the beginning of a day is.
Amber Martinez is a senior at William Floyd High School in Long Island, New York.
If We Must Die by Claude McKay. If we must die, let it not be like hogs, hunted and penned in an inglorious spot, while round us bark the mad and hungry dogs, making their mock at our accursed lot. If we must die, oh, let us nobly die, so that our precious blood may not be shed in vain. Then even the monsters we defy shall be constrained to honor us, though dead. O kingsmen, we must meet the common foe. Though far outnumbered, let us show us brave. And for their 1,000 blows, deal one death blow. What though before us lies the open grave? Like men, we'll face the murderous, cowardly pack, pressed to the wall, dying, but fighting back.
Emily Montfort is a senior at Valley Stream Central High School. She's excited to participate one last time in Poetry Out Loud. Yes, that was a Hamilton reference. Go Eagles!
If We Must Die by Claude McKay. If we must die, let it not be like hogs, hunted and penned in an inglorious spot, while round us bark the mad and hungry dogs, making their mock at our accursed lot. If we must die, oh, let us nobly die, so that our precious blood may not be shed in vain. Then even the monsters we defy shall be constrained to honor us though dead. Oh, kingsmen, we must meet the common foe. Though far outnumbered, let us show us brave, and for their 1,000 blows deal one death blow. What though before us lies the open grave? Like men, we'll face the murderous, cowardly pack, pressed to the wall, dying, but fighting back.
Elizabeth Piper is a junior at Byron Bergen High School.
Traveling Through the Dark by William E. Stafford. Traveling through the dark, I found a deer, dead on the edge of the Wilson River Road. It is usually best to roll them into the canyon. That road is narrow. To swerve might make more dead. By glow of the taillight, I stumbled back of the car and stood by the heap. A doe, a recent killing. She had stiffened already, almost cold. I dragged her off. She was large in the belly. My fingers touching her side brought me the reason. Her side was warm. Her fawn lay there waiting, alive, still, never to be born. Beside that mountain road, I hesitated. The car aimed ahead its lowered parking lights. Under the hood purred the steady engine. I stood in the glare of the warm exhaust turning red. Around our group, I could hear the wilderness listen. I thought hard for us all, my only swerving. Then pushed her over the edge into the river.
McKenna Schneider is a sophomore at Jamestown High School. She's currently taking college-level public speaking, chemistry, and advanced English. She also plays the trombone in the JHS marching band and concert band.
Emily Dickinson at the Poetry Slam by Dan Vera. I will tell you why she rarely ventured from her house. It happened like this. One day she took the train to Boston, made her way to the darkened room, put her name down in cursive script, and waited her turn. When they read her name aloud, she made her way to the stage, straightened the papers in her hands, pages and envelopes, the backs of grocery bills. She closed her eyes for a minute, took a breath, and began. From her mouth, perfect words exploded, intact formulas of light and darkness. She dared to rhyme with words like cochineal and described the skies like diadem. Obscurely worded incantations filled the room with an alchemy that made the very molecules quake. The solitary words she handled in her upstairs room with keen precision came rumbling out to make the electric lights flicker. 40 members of the audience were treated for hypertension. 20-year-old dark-haired beauties found their heads had turned a Moses white. Her second poem erased the memory of every cell phone in the nightclub, and by the fourth line of the sixth verse, the grandmother in the upstairs apartment had been cured of her rheumatism. The papers reported the power outages, the area hospitals taxed their emergency generators, and sirens were heard to wail through the night. Quietly, she made her way to the exit, walked to the terminal, and rode back to Amherst. She never left her room again, and never read such syllables aloud.
Emily Wang is a freshman at Horace Mann. A few of her interests include running, the French language, bread, and of course, poetry.
The Cave by Paula Tran. Someone standing at the mouth had the idea to enter, to go further than light or language could go. As they followed the idea, light and language followed like two wolves, panting, hearing themselves panting. A shapeless scent in the damp air. Keep going, the idea said. Someone kept going. Deeper and deeper, they saw others had been there. Others had left objects that couldn't have found their way there alone. ochre-stained shells, bird bones, grounded hematite. On the walls, as if stepping into history, someone saw their purpose. Cows, bulls, bison, deer, horses, some pregnant, some slaughtered. The wildlife seemed wild and alive, moving when someone moved, casting their shadows on the shadows, stretching in every direction. Keep going, the idea said again. Go. Someone continued. They followed the idea so far inside that outside was another idea.
Pamela White is a junior at Bethlehem Central High School, where she's a 3-time Poetry Out Loud champion. She's grateful to have another chance in the state-level competitions, which she hopes to one day conquer. She loves her poems this year and is excited to share them.
Candles by Carl Dennis. If, on your grandmother's birthday, you burn a candle to honor her memory, you might think of burning an extra, to honor the memory of someone who never met her. A man who may have come to the town she lived in looking for work and never found it. Picture him taking a stroll one morning after a month of grief with the Wantads to refresh himself in the park before moving on. Suppose he notices, on the gravel path, the shards of a green glass bottle that your grandmother, then still a girl, will be destined to step on when she wanders barefoot away from her school picnic if he doesn't stoop down and scoop the mess up with the Wantad section and carry it to a trash can. For you to burn a candle for him, you needn't suppose the cut would be a deep one, just deep enough to keep her at home the night of the hayride, when she meets Helen, who is soon to become her dearest friend, whose brother George, 30 years later, helps your grandfather with a loan so his shoe store doesn't go under in the Great Depression, and his son, your father, is able to stay in school, where his love for learning is fanned into flames, a love he labors later to kindle in you. How grateful you are for your father's efforts is shown by the candles you've burned for him, but today, for a change, why not a candle for the man whose name is unknown to you? Take a moment to wonder whether he died at home, with friends and family, or alone, on the road, on the lookout for no one, to sit at his bedside and hold his hand. The very hand it's time for you to imagine holding.
Ariel Yarmus is a senior at Cornwall Central High School. Though eager and excited to embark on a new journey that is college, Ariel will miss the things that have brought her so much joy throughout her time in high school, like Poetry Out Loud.
One Girl by Sappho, translated by Dante Gabriel Rossetti. 1. Like the sweet apple which reddens upon the topmost bough, atop on the topmost twig, which the pluckers forgot somehow. Forget it not, nay, but got it not, for none could get it till now. 2. Like the wild hyacinth flower, which on the hills is found, which the passing feet of the shepherds forever tear and wound, until the purple blossom is trodden in the ground.
That concludes round 1. Please give these talented students a round of applause. And now we're on to round 2. Lance Anthony believes the Poetry Out Loud competition has helped him in his public speaking skills, and he cannot wait to apply what he learned into his life.
A poem in which I try to express my glee at the music my friend has given me. By Ross Gay, for Patrick Rosal. Because I must not get up to throw down in a cafe in the Midwest, I hold something like a clown-faced herd of bareback and winged elephants stomping in my chest. I hold 1,000 kites in a field, loosed from their tethers. At once, I feel my skeleton losing track. Somewhat of the signs I've made of Tamp. Feel it rising up, shriek and groove, rising up a river, guzzling a monsoon. Not to mention the butterflies of the loins, the hummingbirds of the loins, the 1,000 dromedaries of the loins. Oh, body of sunburst, body of larkspur and honeysucker bloom, body of treetop holler. Oh, lightspeed body of gasp and systole. The mandibles ramble, the clavicles swoon, the spine's trillion teeth. Oh, drift of hip, oh, trill of ribs, oh, synaptic clamor and juggernaut swell, oh, gut track and blast off and sugar tongue syntax. Oh, throb and pulse and rivulet swing and glottal thing and kickstart heart and heel toe heart. Ooh. 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 A bullfight where the bull might take flight and win.
Sakura Barthelemy's hero has always been Frederick Douglass. His inspiring words and dauntless actions continue to shape our society in the way we think about race and the meaning of freedom. To recite a poem encompassing his struggle and impact is one of the many ways in which she hopes to honor and respect him.
Frederick Douglass by Robert Hayden. When it is finally ours, this freedom, this liberty, this beautiful and terrible thing, needful to man as air, usable as earth, when it belongs at last to all, when it is truly instinct, brain matter, diastole, systole, reflex action, when it is finally one, when it is more than the gaudy mumbo-jumbo of politicians, this man, this Douglass, this former slave, this Negro beaten to his knees, exiled, visioning a world where none is lonely, none hunted, alien. This man, superb in love and logic, this man shall be remembered. Oh, not with statues' rhetoric, not with legends and poems and wreaths of bronze alone, but with the lives grown out of his life, the lives fleshing his dream of the beautiful, needful thing.
Brenna Camacho holds this poem very close to her heart, as a woman in today's society and feels that the poem has stood the test of time.
The Wish by a Young Lady by Letitia Pilkington. I ask not wit, nor beauty do I crave, nor wealth, nor pompous title wish to have. But since 'tis doomed through all degrees of life, whether a daughter, sister, or wife, that females should the stronger males obey, and yield implicit to their lordly sway. Since this, I say, is every woman's fate, give me a mind to suit my slavish state.
Jasmine Chen has always loved literature in all its forms and writes her own prose and poetry. Beyond this, she also believes in preserving great writing of the past, which she pursues through transcribing historical documents with the Smithsonian Transcription Institute.
The Legend by Garrett Hongo. In Chicago, it is snowing softly, and a man has just done his wash for the week. He steps into the twilight of early evening carrying a wrinkled shopping bag full of neatly folded clothes, and for a moment enjoys the feel of warm laundry and crinkled paper, flannel-like against his scarfless hands. There's a Rembrandt glow on his face, a triangle of orange in the hollow of his cheek as a last flash of sunset blazes the storefronts and lit windows of the street. He is Asian, Thai or Vietnamese, and very skinny, dressed as one of the poor in rumpled suit pants and a plaid mackinaw, dingy and too large. He negotiates the slick of ice on the sidewalk by his car, opens the Fairlane's back door, leans to place the laundry in, and turns, for an instant, toward the flurry of footsteps and cries of pedestrians as a boy, that's all he was, backs from the corner package store, shooting a pistol, firing it once at the dumbfounded man who falls forward, grabbing at his chest. A few sounds escape from his mouth, a babbling no one understands. As people surround him, bewildered at his speech, the noises he makes are nothing to them. The boy has gone, lost in the light array of foot traffic, dappling the snow with fresh prints. Tonight, I read about Descartes' grand courage to doubt everything except his own miraculous existence. And I feel so distinct from the wounded man lying on the concrete. I am ashamed. Let the night sky cover him as he dies. Let the weaver girl cross the bridge of heaven and take up his cold hands.
Sophia Quartz is half Venezuelan. She likes to eat foods that might be out of the ordinary for a common household. She eats arepas, hallacas, and many other diverse foods.
Self-Portrait by Robert Creeley. He wants to be a brutal old man, an aggressive old man, as dull, as brutal as the emptiness around him. He doesn't want compromise, nor to be ever nice to anyone. Just mean and final in his brutal, his total rejection of it all. He tried the sweet, the gentle, the oh, let's hold hands together. And it was awful, dull, brutally inconsequential. Now he'll stand on his own dwindling legs, his arms, his skin shrink daily, and he loves, but hates equally.
Alexander Fung has been playing the violin for 11 years and has recently picked up playing jazz piano. He likes to spend his free time listening to music as well, especially hip-hop, funk, and jazz.
The Maldive Shark by Herman Melville. About the shark, a phlegmatical one, pale salt of the Maldive Sea, the sleek little pilotfish, azure and slim, how alert in attendance be. From his sawpit of mouth, from his charnel of maw, they have nothing of harm to dread, but liquidly glide on his ghastly flank, or before his Gorgonian head, or lurk in the port of serrated teeth in white triple tiers of glittering gates, and there finds a haven when perils abroad, an asylum in jaws of the fates. They are friends, and friendly they guide him to prey, yet never partake of the treat. Eyes and brains to the dotard, lethargic and dull, pale ravener of horrible meat.
Madison Grady has a passion for performing, from musical theater and competition dance to reciting poetry. Another great source of joy in her life is volunteer work.
Spanglish by Tato Laviera. Pues estoy creando Spanglish, bicultural systems, scientific, lexicographical, intertextual integrations, two expressions existentially wired, two dominant languages continentally abrazándose. En coloquio combate, en las aceras del soil, Imperio Spanglish emerges. Control pandillaje sobre territorio bilingual. Las novelas mexicanas mixing with radio, rock and roll, condimented cocina lore. Immigrant, migrant, nasal mispronouncements. Baraja, chismeteo, social club, hip-hop, prieto, street salsa, corner soul, and mixturando Spanish pop, farandula. Standard English classroom with computer technicalities. Spanglish is literally perfect. Spanglish is ethnically snobbish. Spanglish is carajoli inteligencia. Which U.S. slang do you speak?
Julianne Joseph is a bright freshman in high school who likes to read, loves to socialize, and always prioritizes family.
I will be reciting Respectability by Tina Boyer Brown. We ask our children to act calm, nervous, Whatever innocent looks like when some cop shows his badge, pulls his gun, slows his car. We beg kids to say soft, yes, sirs. We beg kids to get on the head of that car, empty their pockets, shut up, put your hands behind your head. No is an existential threat. 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 Never 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 is an existential threat. We dare ask for humility in the face of this oppression? We have no idea what the threat feels like, but we know. Brianna, Rakia, Sandra, Nia, Betty, Yvette, Miriam, Charisse, Ahmad, Trayvon, Eric, Laquan, Michael, Philando, Stefan, Alton, Amadou, Akai, Quintonio, Rumai, John, Jordan, Jonathan, Reynaldo, Kendrick, or Marley, Kenneth, Robert, Walter, Terrence, Freddie, Samuel, George, Tamir, and more and more and more. There is no open risk declaring our innocence that will confer peace where innocent needs. Our children stand in front of doors, pages, words in the streets. They shut down, they shut down, they shut down the forces that burn against them.
Leah Lorita is a lover of spoken word and slam poetry. When she's not binge-watching poetry videos on YouTube, you may find her writing some of her own.
Lineage by Margaret Walker. My grandmothers were strong. They followed plows and bent to toil. They moved through fields sowing seed. They touched earth and grain grew. They were full of sturdiness and singing. My grandmothers were strong. My grandmothers are full of memories, smelling of soap and onions and wet clay, with veins rolling roughly over quick hands. They have many clean words to say. My grandmothers were strong. Why am I not as they?
Amber Martinez's favorite hobbies are acting, singing, and playing the violin with her school's orchestra.
Mansplaining by Jennifer Militello. Dear Sir, your air of authority leaves me lost, eases me from a place of ease, contracts with my contradictions to take from me a place. Autopilots my autobiography, frightens my fright, sighs with my breath, wins at my grace. Your certainty has me curtained, your nerve has me nervous. Your childhood has me childlike, and your nastiness nests in my belfry like a hawk. You're beyond and above my slice of sky, peach as a pie, bourbon as its pit. You are spit and vinegar while I sour in my bowl. You bowl me over while I tread lightly on my feet. You walk on water while I sink. You witness me. Fisherman, boat on a lake while I struggle and burble and brittle and drop. You wink at me and I must relate. I close my eyes to erase you, and you are written in my lids, a litmus test, a form of layer. God, with 3 days of facial growth and an old bouquet for a face, soap and water for a brain. I have no handsome answer. I have no pillar of salt or shoulder to look over. I have no feather to lay. I have no bubble to burst. I am less, to myself, a character. In a drama, a drumbeat, a benevolence, a blight. All parts of me say shoot on sight, aim for an artery or organ. night.
Emily Montfort enjoys playing on her school's basketball, tennis, and softball team, playing the violin and cello, eating, and bothering her siblings. Go Eagles!
God's Grandeur by Gerard Manley Hopkins. The world is charged with the grandeur of God. It will flame out like shining from shook foil. It gathers to a greatness like the ooze of oil crushed. Why do men then now not wreck his rod? Generations have trod, and all is seared with trade, bleared, smeared with toil, and wears man smudge, and shares man smell. The soil is bare now, nor can foot feel being shod. And for all this, nature is never spent. There lives the dearest freshness deep down things. And though the last lights of the black west went, oh, morning at the brown brink eastward springs, because the Holy Ghost over the bent world broods with warm breast and with, bright wings.
Elizabeth Piper shares that outside of school she enjoys snowboarding.
Friendship After Love by Ella Wheeler Wilcox. After the fierce midsummer, all ablaze has burned itself to ashes and expires in the intensity of its own fires, there come the mellow, mild St. Martin days, crowned with the calm of peace, but sad with haze. So after love has led us till he tires of his own throes and torments and desires, comes large-eyed friendship. With a restful gaze he beckons us to follow, and across cool, verdant vales we wander, free from care. Is it a touch of frost lies in the air? Why are we haunted with a sense of loss? We do not wish the pain back, or the heat. And yet these days are incomplete.
McKenna Schneider is an avid reader, writer, and speaker. She plans on choosing a career in the English field. She will continue reading and speaking poetry throughout her life.
The Lake Isle of Innisfree by William Butler Yeats. I will arise and go now, and go to Innisfree, and a small cabin build there, of clay and wattles made. 9 bean rows will I have there, a hive for the honey bee, and live alone in the bee-loud glade. And I shall have some peace there, for peace comes dropping slow, dropping from the vales of the morning to where the cricket sings. There, midnight's all a glimmer, and noon a purple glow, and evening full of the linnet's wings. I will arise and go now, for always, night and day, I hear lake water lapping with low sounds by the shore. While I stand on the roadway or on the pavement's gray, I hear it in the deep heart's poor.
Emily Wang is attempting to learn French on Duolingo. She thinks French is a very elegant language. For some reason, it reminds her of wisteria flowers and bread, lots of bread.
The Bookshelf of the God of Infinite Space by Jeffrey Skinner. You would expect an uncountable number, acres and acres of books in rows like wheat or gold bullion, or that the words just appear in the mind like banner headlines. In fact, there is one shelf holding a modest number, 10 or 12 volumes. No dust jackets, because no dust. Covers made of gold or skin, or golden skin, or creosote, or rain-soaked macadam, or some mix of salt and glass. You turn a page and mountains rise. Clouds drawn by children bubble in the sky. You are 20 again. Trying to read a map dissolving in your hands. I say you and mean me. Say God and mean librarian, who after long research offers you a glass of water and an apple. You, grateful to discover your name, a footnote in that book.
Pamela White says that she's a huge theater nerd who tries to get involved in every show her school has to offer. Outside of school, Pam is training with the Broadway Collective and A Class Act New York to hone in on her singing, dancing, and acting capabilities. She hopes to one day make it to Broadway.
Oranges by Rosen Kelly. I'll choose for myself next time who I'll reach out and take as mine in the way I might stand at a fruit stall, having decided to ignore the apples, the mangoes, and the kiwis, but hold my hands above a pile of oranges, as if to warm my skin before a fire. Not only have I chosen oranges, but I'll also choose which orange. I'll test a few for firmness, scrape some rind off with my fingernail, so that a citrus scent will linger there all day. I won't be happy with the first one I pick, but we'll try different ones until I know you. How will I know you? You'll feel warm between my palms, and I'll cup you like a handful of holy water. A vision will come to me of your exotic land, the sun you swelled under, the tree you grew from. The drift of white blossoms from the orange tree will settle in my hair. And I'll know. This is how I will choose you. By feeling you, smelling you, by slipping you into my coat. Maybe then I'll climb the hill, look down on the town we live in with sunlight on my face, and a miniature sun burning a hole in my pocket. Thirsty, I'll suck the juice from it, from you. When I walk away, I'll leave behind a trail of lamp-bright rind.
Ariel Yarmus spends most of her time working at local farms, caring for and teaching about the animals. In addition to her herd of docile little beastlings, Ariel is a bird mom to her bird, Carol. She also enjoys writing and reading poetry and hiking in her backyard.
Least Concern by John Choptaw. Chimerical, the rhinoceros egret, its keratin dehorned in South Africa and container shipped to Vietnam or China, where it's ground by aphrodisiasts and snorted by affluent boneheads, metamorphs into the hippopotamus egret, the elephant, Cape buffalo, zebra, giraffe, the ostrich, and the camel egret, the deep-domed tortoise, and in the Americas, the cow heron or cattle egret. Ranging like wildfire over the last century, a migration prodded by the transmutation of forests into ranches, the cattle egret rides and champs and tilts and plods and darts in cursive at grasshoppers. And where its cattle gets concentrated, decapitated, tenderized, charred, whatever, the Bulbicus ibis or cattleman wader, capitalizing on a field without cattle, reinvents itself as the tractor egret. Though the unattached bird is emblem enough of the other end of extinction ignition, when not just its shaggy breeding crest and breast plumage go up in flame, but its legs, beak, lores, and irises catch color.
That concludes round 2. Before we move on to the third round, I want to thank the judges who did the scoring for this competition. The 6th Queen's Poet Laureate, Maria Lisella, was awarded a Poet Laureate Fellowship from the American Academy of Poets. She co-curates the Italian-American Writers Association. Collections include Thieves in the Family, Amore on Hope Street, and Two Naked Feet. She is New York culture editor for the Jerusalem Post. Juliette Lubwama served as the 2017 National Student Poet for the Northeast region of the United States. Currently, she's a senior at the University of Pennsylvania studying neuroscience and is a member of her campus spoken word group, the Excelano Project. David Barclay Moore is the author of The Stars Beneath Our Feet, which won the Coretta Scott King John Steptoe Award for New Talent. He was born and raised in Missouri. After studying creative writing at Iowa State University, film at Howard University in Washington, D.C., and language studies at l'Université de Montpellier in France, David moved to New York City, where he has worked in film, journalism, and communications. David now divides his time between Brooklyn, New York, Los Angeles, California, and St. Louis, Missouri. Amanda Vallel is a Black poet and educator from Queens, New York. She holds an MFA from Sarah Lawrence College and is a recent participant in the Community of Writers Workshop in Olympic Valley, California. Thank you, judges. And now for the final round of competition. Lance Anthony has grown to be really passionate about youth and government, and it has inspired him to want to pursue law in the future.
Where did the handsome beloved go? I wonder where did that tall, shapely cypress tree go? He spread his light among us like a candle. Where did he go? So strange. Where did he go without me? All day long, my heart trembles like a leaf. All alone at midnight, where did that beloved go? Go to the road and ask any passing traveler, that soul-stirring companion, where did he go? Go to the garden and ask the gardener, that tall, shapely rose stem, where did he go? Go to the rooftop and ask the watchman, that unique sultan, where did he go? Like a madman I search in the meadows, that deer in the meadows. Where did he go? My tearful eyes overflow like a river. That pearl in the vast sea, where did he go? All night long I implore both moon and Venus. That lovely face, like a moon. Where did he go? If he is mine, why is he with others? Since he's not here, to what there did he go? If his heart and soul are joined with God, and he left this realm of earth and water, where did he go? Tell me clearly, Shams of Tabriz, of whom it is said, the sun never dies. Where did he go?
Sakura Barthelemy has a deep interest in reading. Tragic stories are one of the topics that grasp her attention, as demonstrated in the following poem.
Epitaph by Catherine Phillips. On her son H.P. at St. Sith's Church, where her body also lies interred. What on earth deserves our trust? Youth and beauty both are dust. Long we gathering are with pain. What one moment calls again. 7 years, childless marriage past. A son is born at last, so exactly limbed and fair, full of good spirits, mien and air, as a long life promised. Yet, in less than 6 weeks, dead. Too promising, too great a mind, in so small room to be confined. Therefore, as fit in heaven to dwell, he quickly broke the prison shell. So the subtle alchemist can't with Hermes' seal resist the powerful spirit's subtler flight, but 'twill bid him long good night. And so the sun, if it arise, half so glorious as his eyes, like this infant takes a shroud, buried in a morning cloud.
Brenna Camacho describes the following poem as very empowering, emotional, and dynamic, and says that it has pushed her out of her comfort zone.
Stomp by Nikki Grimes. I come home, feet about to bleed from angry stomping. Boy, says Mom, quit making all that racket. But what does she expect when day after day haters sling words at me like jagged stones designed to split my skin? I retreat to my room, collapse on the bed, count 1, 2, 3. When I get to 10, I snatch up my journal and pen, flip to a clean page, and unload my hurt, my rage, till I can breathe again. Letter by letter, I rediscover my power to decide which words matter, which words don't, and whose. Calm. Now I remember. I get to choose.
Jasmine Chen is a massive bookworm. One summer in the 2nd grade, Jasmine read over 200 books, an accomplishment she's still proud of. Trips to libraries and bookstores have been central to her upbringing, and she hopes to share her love of literature with others.
Sheltered Garden by H.D. I have had enough. I gasp for breath. Every way ends. Every road, every footpath leads at last to the hill crest. Then you retrace your steps or find the same slope on the other side. Precipitate. I have had enough. Border pinks, clove pinks, wax lilies, herbs, sweet cress. Oh, for some sharp swish of a branch. There is no scent of resin in this place. No taste of bark, of coarse weeds, aromatic, astringent. Only border on border of scented pinks. Have you seen fruit under cover that wanted light? Pears, wadded in cloth, protected from the frost. Melons, almost ripe, smothered in straw. Why not let the pears cling to the empty branch? All your coaxing will only make a bitter fruit. Let them cling, ripen of themselves, test their own worth, to fall at last, but fair, with a russet coat. Or the melon, let it bleach yellow in the winter light, even tart to the taste. It is better to taste of frost, the exquisite frost, than of rotting and of dead grass. For this beauty, beauty without strength, chokes out life. I want wind to break. Scatter these pink stalks, snap off their spiced heads, fling them about with dead leaves, spread the paths with twigs, limbs broken off, trail great pine branches hurled from some far wood right across the melon patch. Break pear and quince. Leave half trees, torn, twisted, but showing the fight was valiant. Oh, to blot out this garden, to forget, to find a new beauty in some terrible wind-tortured place.
Sophia Courts aspires to be a great singer. She wants to be involved in the arts in some way, shape, or form for the rest of her life.
Mama Said by Calvin Forbes. The slice I ate, I want it back. Those crumbs I swept up, I'd like my share again. I can still taste it like it was. The memory by itself is delicious. Each bite was a small miracle, both nourishing and sweet. I wish I had saved just a little bit. I know it wasn't a literal cake. It's the thought that counts. Like a gift that's not store-bought, making it even more special. Like a dream that makes you want to go back to sleep. You can't have your cake and eat it too, Mama said. I was defiant and hard-headed and answered, yes, I can too. The look she gave me said, boy, I hope you aren't a fool all your life.
Alexander Fung is beginning the college search process. After graduation, he hopes to continue his studies in science and math, possibly looking at a career in medicine. He would like to play college soccer too, if the opportunity presents itself.
In Praise of Pain by Heather McHugh. A brilliance takes up residence in flaws. A brilliance all the unchipped faces of design refuse. The wine collects its starlets at a lip's fault, sunlight where the nicked glass angles, and affection where the eye is least correctable, where arrows of unquivered light are lodged, where someone else's eyes have come to be concerned. For beauty's sake, assault and drive and burn the devil from the simply perfect sun. Demand a birthmark on the skin of love, a tremble in the touch. In come a cry, and to let the silverware of night be flecked, the moon pucked, to distribute more or less indwelling alloys of its dim and shine, by nip and tuck, by chance's dance of laws. The brightness drawn and quartered on a sheet, the moment cracked upon a bed, will last as if you soldered them with moon and flux, and break the bottle of the eye to see what lights are spun of accident and glass.
Madison Grady loves all forms of creative writing, especially writing her own poetry. She also has a passion for science and hopes to someday have a career in science research.
The Seekers of Lice by Arthur Rimbaud, translated by Wallace Fowley. When the child's forehead, full of red torments, implores the white swarm of indistinct dreams, there come near his bed 2 tall, charming sisters with slim fingers that have silvery nails. They seat the child in front of a wide open window where the blue air bathes a mass of flowers, and in his heavy hair, where the dew falls, move their delicate, fearful, and enticing fingers. He listens to the singing of their apprehensive breath, which smells of long, rosy plant honey, and which at times a hiss interrupts, saliva caught on the lip, or desire for kisses. He hears their black eyelashes beating in the perfumed silence, and their gentle, electric fingers make, in his half-drunken indolence, the death of the little lice crackle under their royal nails. Then the wine of sloth rises in him, the sigh of an harmonica which could bring on delirium. The child feels, according to the slowness of the caresses surging in him and dying continuously, a desire to cry.
Juliana Joseph is an optimistic 14-year-old who likes to express herself through music. She plays the baritone horn in band and is a soprano in choir.
I will be reciting Invisible Children by Mariana Llanos. Invisible children fall through the cracks of the system like Alice in the rabbit hole. But these children won't find an eat-me cake or a drink-me bottle. They won't wake up on the lap of a loving sister. They'll open their eyes on the hands of a monster called negligence, who'll poke them with its sharp teeth and bait them with its heartless laughter, like a wild thing in a wild rumpus. But the children won't awake to the smell of a warm supper, nor will they find a purple crayon to draw an escape door or a window. Instead, they'll make a mirror of a murky puddle on the city street, which won't tell them they're beautiful, but it will show their scars, as invisible to others as these children are.
Leah Lorita hopes to attend an HBCU to study psychology. Leah is passionate about bringing awareness to mental health and believes that the key to a better society is in having hope for the future.
Whenever you see a tree, by Padma Venkatraman, think how many long years this tree waited as a seed for an animal or bird or wind or rain to maybe carry it to maybe the right spot, where again it waited months for seasons to change until time and temperature were fine enough to coax it to swell and burst its hard shell so it could send slender roots to clutch at grains of soil and let tender shoots reach toward the sun. Think how many decades or centuries it thickened and climbed and grew taller and deeper, never knowing if it would find enough water or light or when conditions would be right so it could keep on spreading leaves, adding blossoms and dancing. The next time you see a tree, think how much hope it holds.
Amber Martinez aspires to attend Wharton Business School at the University of Pennsylvania and get a degree in finance. With that, she hopes to be a hedge fund manager on Wall Street and one day start her own hedge fund.
An Apology for Her Poetry by Duchess of Newcastle, Margaret Cavendish. I language want to dress my fancies in. The hairs uncurled, the garments loose and thin. Had they but silver lace to make them gay, they'd be more courted than in poor array. Or had they art, would make a better show, but they are plain. Yet cleanly do they go. The world in bravery doth take delight, and glistering shows do more attract the sight, and everyone doth honor a rich hood, as if the outside made the inside good. And everyone doth bow and give the place, not for the man's sake, but the silver lace. Let me entreat in my poor book's behalf, that all will not adore the golden calf. Consider, pray, gold hath no life therein, and life in nature is the richest thing. Be just, let fancy have the upper place, and then my verses may perchance find grace.
Emily Montfort aspires to become a doctor. She wants to be as cool as Dr. Strange. A random fun fact is that she loves to drink water. Her sister calls her a waterholic. Go Eagles!
Gulf Memo by Stephen Sandy. Tell me the way to the wedding. Tell me the way to the war. Tell me the needle you're threading. I won't raise my voice anymore. And tell me what axe you are grinding, where the boy on the bivouac believes, what reel you are unwinding for the girl in her bed who grieves, while behind a derrick's girder he watches the sinking sun. He asks what he'll do for murder and what he will do for fun. Will you read him the ways of war, his Miranda rights in sin? Will you tell him what to ignore when he studies your discipline? He dozes off, but he shakes in a dream that he is the one. Death finds a bed and wakes just as the night is done. Tell me what boats go ashore, riding the oil-dim tide, red streamers and black in store for the boy with a pain in his side. and tell me where they are heading tonight. Now, tell me the score. Tell me the way to their wedding. I won't raise my own voice anymore.
Elizabeth Piper enjoys snowboarding outside of school.
Tamer and Hawk by Tom Gunn. I thought I was so tough, but gentled at your hands. Cannot be quick enough to fly for you and show that when I go at your commands. Even in flight above, I am no longer free. You sealed me with your love. I'm blind to other birds. The habit of your words has hooded me. As formerly I wheel, I hover, and I twist, but only want the feel in my possessive thought of catcher and of caught upon your wrist. You but half civilized, taming me in this way through having only eyes for you. I fear to lose. I lose to keep and choose tamer as prey.
McKenna Schneider is an avid reader, writer, and speaker. McKenna plans on choosing a career in the English field. She will continue reading and speaking poetry throughout her life.
Eagle Poem by Joy Harjo. To pray you open your whole self. To sky, to earth, to sun, to moon, to one whole voice. That is you. And know there is more that you can't see, can't hear, can't know except in moments steadily growing, and in languages that aren't always sound, but other circles of motion. Like eagle that Sunday morning over Salt River, circled in blue sky, in wind swept our hearts clean with sacred wings. We see you, see ourselves, and know that we must take the utmost care and kindness in all things. Breathe in, knowing we are made of all this. And breathe, knowing we are truly blessed, because we were born and die soon within a true circle of motion. Like eagle, rounding out the morning inside us, we pray that it will be done in beauty. In beauty.
Emily Wang enjoys baking blueberry muffins, although her expertise is limited. She's also an avid fan of chocolate croissants. As for baking bread, well, that's a work in progress.
Confessions by Robert Browning. What is he buzzing in my ears? Now that I come to die, do I view the world as a veil of tears? Ah, Reverend Sir, not I. What I view there once, what I view again, where the physic bottles stand on the table's edge, is a suburb lane with a wall to my bedside hand. That lane sloped, much as the bottles do. From a house you could descry over the garden wall. Is the curtain blue or green to a healthy eye? To mine, it serves for the old June weather, blue above lane and wall. And that farthest bottle, labeled either, is the house
or topping all. At a terrace, somewhere near the stopper, there watched for me one June a girl. I know, sir, it's improper. My poor mind's out of tune. Only there was a way. You crept close by the side to dodge eyes in the house. 2 eyes, except. They styled their house the Lodge. What right had a lounger up their lane? But by creeping very close, with the good wall's help, their eyes might strain and stretch themselves to O's, yet never catch her and me together, as she left the attic there, and stole from stair to stair, and stood by the rose-wreathed gate. Alas, we loved, sir, used to meet. How sad and bad and mad it was. But then, how it was sweet.
Pamela White is a hopeless romantic who would do absolutely anything for her family and friends. She wouldn't be who she is today without her besties. Pam is a lover of all creatures except stink bugs and is outraged that her allergies prevent her from becoming a crazy cat and dog lady.
In a London Drawing Room by George Eliot. The sky is cloudy, yellowed by the smoke. For view, there are the houses opposite, cutting the sky with one long line of wall, like solid fog. Far as the eye can stretch, monotony of surface and of form without a break to hang a guess upon. No bird can make a shadow as it flies, for all is shadow, as in ways o'erhung by thickest canvas, where the golden rays are clothed in hemp. No figure lingering pauses to feed the hunger of the eye, or rest a little on the lap of life. All hurry on and look upon the ground, or glance unmarking at the passers-by. The wheels are hurrying too. Cabs, carriages, all closed, in multiplied identity. The world seems one huge prison house and court where men are punished at the slightest cost, with lowest rate of color, warmth, and joy.
Ariel Yarmus plans on attending college to study animal sciences and eventually pursue a career in large animal veterinary medicine. She's eager and excited to know what the future holds for her and would like to thank her family, friends, and Carol for always supporting her passions.
My partner wants me to write them a poem about Sheryl Crow by Caleb Ray Candrilli. But all I want to do is marry them on a beach that refuses to take itself too seriously. So much of our lives has been serious. Over time, I've learned that love is most astonishing when it persists after learning where we come from. When I bring my partner to my childhood home, it is all bullets and needles and trash bags held at arm's length. It is my estranged father's damp bed of cardboard and cigar boxes filled with gauze and tarnished spoons. It is hard to clean a home, but it is harder to clean the memory of it. When I was young, my father would light lavender candles and shoot up. Now, my partner and I light a fire that will burn all traces of the family that lived here. Black plastic smoke curdles up and loose bullets discharge in the flames. My partner holds my hand as gunfire rings through the birch trees. Though this is almost beautiful, it is not. And if I'm being honest, my partner and I spend most of our time on Earth feeding one another citrus fruits and enough strength to go on. Every morning I pack them half a grapefruit and some sugar, and they tell me it's just sweet enough.
Thank you and congratulations to all the talented students. And now to announce the students with the highest scores. In third place, Emily Monfort. The runner-up in second place is Via Larita. And the 2022 New York State Poetry Out Loud champion moving on to compete in the national competition is Pamela White. Congratulations! Pamela will join students from the 55 states and U.S. territories who will compete for the title of the National Poetry Out Loud champion. Visit arts.gov to watch the national semifinals on Sunday, May 1st, and the national finals on Sunday, June 5th. On behalf of Teachers and Writers Collaborative, thank you to the students, teachers, and everyone who helped make this event possible. I wish you happy reading, happy writing, and I hope to see you in 2023 for another year of Poetry Out Loud.